Joining us now, a close friend of the show. She's the head coach at UNLV, a two-time national champion as a player at Arizona. She won't highlight this, but she was also in the circle guest analyst during the Women's College World Series. So she's a favorite of ours. We speak of Kristie Fox back with us on the show. It's good to see you again.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, I'm trying to get that second job, working on that commentary.
Well, right now you're doing just fine as a coach, and obviously your team's off to a great start. 12-2 this year. Just tell me a little bit what you've learned about your team so far through the first 14 games.
Yeah, I think our team chemistry is right where we need it to be. I think that's a huge piece for teams to have success in the long run. And we've been able to kind of, get the right players that have the right mindset and the right character on our team. And these young ladies are really bonding. The COVID years and the year following, where we really had to kind of keep our players apart and be super mindful of that. I think that played a huge role in our season last year towards the end. Is just that missing piece of that team chemistry, not because they don't like each other, didn't care about each other. It's just because we were really, I was really paranoid about losing games to COVID. So we were really, really careful. And this year, if it happens, it happens. We're still being careful, but at the same time, we're putting that team chemistry and, them having each other's backs at the forefront of our mindset this year.
You're fresh off a successful road trip at Lake Charles there at the tournament. You beat the host McNeese State, which is an NCAA tournament team. James Landreneau does always a good job there. Sam Houston, you beat Manhattan and Memphis in different conditions that your players are not used to, playing in cold weather, as it turned out, as it was in Louisiana. How big is that for this group to experience different experiences like you did this weekend on the road in Lake Charles and come out on top?
Yeah, that's definitely a tough trip. Even the travel, there was an ice storm in Dallas. We didn't know if we were going to make it. So many things were up in the air, and then we get there and it's freezing. And, my desert girls just definitely didn't know what they were getting themselves into. So for them to still come out and compete, it would have been very easy for them to complain and say this is too cold and just kind of give in. But, they kept their head on straight and they dealt with the adversity and competed really well. It was really fun for us. Our pitching coach, Emily Vincent, she played at McNeese. Her parents' name are on the scoreboard and in the batting cages, and they're huge supporters of that program. So they did a really good job of taking care of us and, making sure our girls were fed well. And we definitely got that Mardi Gras feeling. Lots of king cake, too much king cake, actually. So we ate really well. And I was really happy with the way they played. I thought our pitching staff, they've been working hard. We've had some really great outings, and then we've had some outings where I was like, oh, we got some work to do. But this weekend, I just saw consistency out of our entire pitching staff, which is what we're going to need, especially against those 3-game series in the Mountain West. So, Jasmine Martin getting 2 wins, Jenny Bressler, who's been a staple for our program, getting 2 wins and really kind of looking the sharpest I've seen her so far. And then even Alana Thede, the transfer from Oklahoma, getting a no-hitter against a Manhattan, just all of our pitching was just, they were all on pitching on all cylinders. And I really like that because, as we know in this game, pitching is huge.
Let's expand on the pitching. You mentioned Jenny Bressler, we've known about, off to a great start, 6-0, 293 ERA. But you mentioned some of the other arms. Do you feel you have more depth pitching-wise this year than you've had in past years?
I think it's pretty consistent. We tend to ride one arm, but I think that this year, especially, we're going to have to be able to expand that a little bit. And we have 2 good options to kind of piece together games. And what I do like is that they're all a little different, right? So when we make a change, you're getting a different look. We're not going to be putting in the same kind of pitcher, same kind of pitches. So being able to offer teams some different looks. And, I think the biggest part, and that's the staff's job, is knowing the time, when to make that change, when pitchers are going to need to work through some things. So this preseason, we've really left our pitchers in some situations where they've had to work through some things because I need to know what they're capable of. If I'm always pulling them and always making that change too soon, by the time we get to Mountain West, I won't know, the right way or the right call. So, we've been doing things a little bit differently in our preseason this year, trying to get a feel for, who can work through what, who can bounce back from what, and when that leash really needs to be pulled.
Your offense off to a great start, hitting 326 as a team, good balance offensively. Just talk about your offense and how you feel about them 14 games in. A lot of power too in the lineup.
Yeah, this year we definitely have a lot more power than we have in the past, a little less speed, but we have some options. Depending on how we do our lineup, we have an offensive lineup and we have a defensive lineup. And so depending on that, we have some really good sticks off the bench. And then other times we have some really good speed off the bench. So, we have a couple different lineups that we've been playing with, and I really like what I'm seeing. Our hitters are doing a good job of competing at the plates. A lot more home runs throughout, different people stepping up, and that's going to be huge for us. It's a little different for us, but I like it. Especially at our field. If that wind gets blown out, we can get a little leverage and get that ball in the air. It can go.
I hear that, and really the balance is really impresses me. I mean, Mia Trejo, 16 RBIs, 2 homers. April Visser, 16 RBIs, 5 homers, 580 on base, 972 slugging. Janisha Martin, 4 homers, 12 RBIs. I can go on and on. Ariana Martinez is off to a great start, and her team is getting the on base. Just talk about your philosophy offensively and the approach, because you're hitting for power, but you're also getting on base as a team. 438 on base.
Yeah, I mean, I can't take credit for it. They have a really good eye. They tend to really swing in the zone. They don't chase out of the zone too often, and that makes it tough for the pitchers. So our team really focuses on the zone, and when it comes in the zone, they're getting after it aggressively, and they haven't been chasing outside, and they'll take their walks. They're not pressing at the plate, which I think is huge. They're really relaxed up there and just taking advantage of their opportunities and trying to help the team any way they can, right? That goes back to that team chemistry portion. It's not about one person's stats. It's not about one person's success. We have some players that have done some really great things. Like you said, Mia Trejo, she's in her super senior year, has done really great things offensively for this program. Sam Diaz, our shortstop, who was a Mountain West All Defensive Player of the Year. It's not about those accolades for this team. It's really about taking that next step and leaving a legacy that, we haven't been able to do at UNLV in a very long time. And so I think they're really leading the way with that conversation about it's not just what you can do, it's what you can do for the team and what you can leave behind. Leave this place better than you found it. And I know so far those 2 girls have done that. They have one more thing on their list that they want to get done, and we're working really hard to get that done for them.
How motivated are the returners, especially after last year being so close to that conference championship, coming down to the wire, just coming up short? Been knocking on the NCAA tournament door as well. But how much is that inspiring the veteran leaders and the veterans that are back for this year? Maybe some unfinished business. Maybe is the mentality there a little bit.
Yeah, and I think that we don't think about it in the long term. We're not thinking about it down the road about that. It's, what can we do today so that we're not in that situation again, right? Like every day we're focusing on what can we do to get better so that we're in a better situation at the end of the year and not putting it in the hands. Like it's in our hands. So we got to play the game the right way and take care of business on a day-to-day basis to really kind of get that end result that we want. If we get too far down the line, that's when you kind of things slip away from you. So we're really trying to focus. They're doing a great job. I mean, we've had some situations where some people need to get some extra work in, and the coaches step away, and these players are stepping up and helping each other out, and getting extra work in together. And the upperclassmen are teaching the younger classmen, and I think that just says a lot for where we were and where we're at right now. Is that we have that leadership. We have players that are comfortable and confident and helping the underclassmen, and they know what the expectations are, so that they can even do it on their own, which I think is a big thing, right? We have time limitations, but it takes more than just 4 hours to get those end goals that you want. And that's really when the players step in and they get that extra work in on their own, and they do that stuff together. So I'm really happy to be seeing that.
Speak to the process of building this program since you've arrived, because now you're getting your recruits in. You're getting your young talent, which you could talk about as some of the impact players you have now that's coming youth. But I spoke to Kendall Fern, who obviously is an alum, and she watches your program, and they're really like the uptick. Even she was like from afar, it's like, wow, that was really quick. I mean, you've built winning success there quickly there. Just talk about building this program from when you took over and where you have it now.
I think that the basis of what we try to do is really based in love to play. right? You have to love to play. It is hard. There are parts of it that are a grind. You know, being a Division I athlete is a grind. But at the same time, if you have love and passion for what you're doing, you know, it kind of makes it fun, right? So love the game, find a way to have fun in it. And if we can have the field be their sanctuary, they're going to get a lot more out of it. And you're going to see a lot more out of their talent. We're going to see them progress a lot more on the field and off the field. So we really try to make the field like their safe place and the place that they love to go instead of a job or a workplace, which is a little different than some other programs. They really kind of focus on it being work. I like to think of it as that's their favorite place. You're with your best friends, you're getting to practice, and you get to play a game. So that's a really fun thing to do. So it creates a sisterhood, and you know, I think that the girls have done a really good job embracing that. And you know, when you have that mindset, you tend to put a lot more work in because you love what you're doing. So all that extra work and them just really be bonding together, I think that's where you're kind of seeing that success is because they're super confident, you know, and they know that even if they lose or if there's a bad moment or we face adversity, that the field is still their sanctuary and it's still a place to grow and learn. It's not a place where, you know, they have to feel upset or, you know, start going down a negative path. So just giving the opportunity to give them a safe place and a place where they're going to fail, and that's okay. And we use that failure as a learning process.
We're speaking with UNLV head coach Kristie Fox here on In the Circle. Let's talk about this is a pretty marquee tournament you've got here going on, and something you've been building as well is marquee teams coming to your place. You had BYU. You opened the season with BYU with a big win against a really good BYU team. Played a wild game against Hawaii, but you got this weekend. You got Washington coming in once again. You've had them on before, but they're coming back. Houston has been an NCAA tournament program. The Mexico State. Just talk about your philosophy as far as building a schedule and the process of scheduling at home. Obviously, it helps people like coming to Vegas, but still building quality games and getting good teams to come to your place.
Yeah, I mean, I think Vegas is a spot where, you know, teams and parents love to come and watch their kids, and usually the weather is some of the best. And they know you're going to get games in, right? Preseason, it's really important that you get the games in and they're not canceled or rained out. And knock on wood, we have a little rain in the forecast, but I'm sure we'll be able to get them in. Yeah, I think that this weekend is going to be a really good weekend for us to kind of see what we're going to look like against the Mountain West teams, right? It's about preparation for that. I think this year, especially, you know, the Mountain West is, you know, it's going to be that automatic bid and maybe one other team. So, you know, we really have to kind of look and see how we can win as many games as we can in the Mountain West to put ourselves in a good situation to win that automatic bid and keep it out of anybody else's hands. So this weekend for us will be a good test. You know, Houston is going to be heading into the Big 12 here pretty soon. You know, New Mexico State, always competing at the top of their conference, has some really, really great players. Every single year they do a great job recruiting. And then Washington, I mean, it speaks for itself. They're a top 10 program. I think they're top 5 right now, you know, playing really well, has excellent pitching. And, you know, I think it's going to be a great test for us. This weekend is one where, you know, we're going to have our backs against the walls at some point, and we got to be able to stay focused, stop the bleeding, and, you know, just play our game. So I'm excited to see what our team is capable of. And if you look at our schedule, you know, we amp up right before we head into that Mountain West, heading to Tucson the next weekend to play another Pac-12 team. I think it's going to be good, but it gives us an opportunity to see what our players are capable of early on so that this weekend, you know, we can start really, you know, making sure that we put our best lineup out there, our pitching staff, make sure we leave them in good situations and get them out in bad situations. So it's not only good for our team, but it's good for our coaching staff to see if we're prepared to make the right calls.
See, you're getting the media thing down pat. You bring up Tucson. You knew I was going to bring that up because I have to bring that up. Obviously, you're going to go to Tucson to participate in that tournament there that they're hosting. Arizona is hosting with Yale, obviously, and Marist, which could be a team that can win their league too, be an NCAA tournament team, kind of an under the radar team. But obviously, there's going to be a lot of attention that week with you and Caitlin going against each other at Mike Candrea Field, which was named before the season. I'm sure Coach Candrea will be watching both of you somewhere in the stands, or if he has a press spot, if he has his own suite. I don't know where he's set up is. I'm sure he can wander around wherever he would like.
Right.
Right. But like, what's that going to be like because I don't know how, you and Caitlin potentially could be exchanging lineup cards. I don't, you were teammates, you were roommates, and and when you play there, you're going to be exchanging lineups. What is that going to be like for you?
Yeah, I mean, I've played there before. We've gone there many times before, been in a regional there before. Um, it's going to be different though. That was Coach Candrea. That was my old coach, at the plate. And now it's going to be my college teammate and my roommate. So, they know I'm always rooting for them, except for when I'm on the other side of the white lines. So it'll be the one weekend where I'm not rooting for them. But yeah. They got a good team. She inherited, a World Series team. I mean, that's great. We're in different boats, So, I'm excited to see my team go out there and compete and see what they can do.
You're the veteran head coach in the matchup for a change. That's a first.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It'll be fun, the Tucson and Arizona and all of the fans, they're very, very loyal and they've supported me in my career. And, they even still write articles about me in Tucson and what I'm doing at UNLV. And they've been very supportive of my career and kind of me going out on my own and kind of earning it and trying to find my own path in my own way in the coaching world. So, I'm very, very grateful to them, and I'm excited to go back and see Mike Candrea Field and, the clubhouse that I was promised that just finally now is getting built. So, you know what I mean? Like, at Coach Candrea's retirement party, one of the girls brought it up. I think it was Kenzie Fowler. She actually said, like, it's been so cool to see the stadium and the clubhouse, and how many girls in this room were told about that on their recruiting trip. And I was like, I was. So it's nice. So these new players, they don't know. We all wanted that. So we're happy for them, but I'm excited to see it all. And, officially Mike Candrea Field.
Takes a little time, I guess. It takes a little time, but you helped make it happen with your play on the field and the national titles you brought. How strange is it going to be for you, though, not to see him in the dugout? Like, are you going to take a peek? Are you going to look to see where he is? Like, is that going to be strange? I mean, we're still kind of getting used to that, not seeing him in the dugout.
Yeah, I'm going to text him and I'm going to make him take me to dinner.
There you go. Now, you got to make him, what you need to do, you got to make him wear some UNLV gear, especially when you're not playing Arizona, right? I think that's fair. Like, and maybe, I don't know if we can, I don't know if we have time.
We'll see. I'll bring him some stuff, but I don't know. I don't know if anybody can pull that off, but I'll see what I can do. If I get it, I'm going to take a picture and I'm going to send it to everybody, all the news outlets.
I think that should be what you should shoot for. Like, look, you don't expect that for the Arizona game, although maybe we could do an Arizona UNLV / thing, but when you're not playing Arizona in that tournament, you should be at least, UNLV gear, because I mean, that I would assume they got great fans over there. I would not be surprised if a lot of those fans come to your games that are not against Arizona just to root for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I said, they've been so supportive. When I come back, they're always reaching out and saying hello and wanting to see my family. And so they've been great. And I'm sure that there will be some that are sticking around for our games to support me and cheer for our team. And, I think it just speaks to what Coach Candrea has been able to build in Tucson, a community that really supports the softball team.
You've told me in the past that you've got photos of your career and you show that to your team about the standard as an example. Is that something you may show them in that field when you walk on that field about the standard? I mean, it's all over that field. Is that part of the lesson to your team about the standard, where you want to take the program and where you want it to be at the end?
I think that when they step on that field, I'm going to be more clear about that's not what I played on. I didn't get that beautiful stadium and I didn't have that beautiful clubhouse, but when I was playing there, I was giving it my all because I wanted to accomplish something. And I truly feel like I left the program better than I found it. And it's a great program, right? We've done so many things, but I felt like I left everything that I could on that field for that team. And they've been able to build off of it ever since. And I think that's kind of where we're at right now. We have a decent stadium, but we're missing the clubhouse. We're missing the cages. We're missing a lot of things that a lot of other programs have, but it can't be an excuse, right? So even though we didn't have all those things and other programs had better facilities than us, we worked hard and we left it all on the field. And when you do that, you'll get the benefit of it, right? So we won a couple national championships, and I think that part of that was that we weren't entitled. We weren't entitled and we didn't expect it to happen. We knew that we had to go earn it. And so that's kind of where we're at UNLV right now is, we're not entitled to anything, that the name on the front doesn't mean anything to any other team. We have to go and earn it every single game. And, I know that we were picked first in the Mountain West this year. And I think that just really speaks to, how hard we worked and how much the other coaches respect that what we've done with the program. But at the same time, it doesn't mean anything. You have to go and earn it between the line. And I think that, our team is one of those teams, like, we're not expecting it. We're expecting to go earn it.
By the way, I want to mention Taryn Moet. I didn't mean to leave her out. Also former roommate. She's on that staff too. So the three of that's a cool moment. I hope some photographer will take some photos there. You got to go when they unveiled the Mike Candrea Field, right? Was that a surprise? Did that come out of nowhere? Was that planned? Like, because I know he was caught off guard by it.
Yeah, I don't think anybody knew. That was a really great surprise. I don't think any of the alumni knew that was going to happen, and it's very, very well deserved. So it's very exciting. It was touching to see his emotional response to that. He's given everything to that program and really put it on the map. And I think it's so well deserved. And, his legacy is just something to be in awe about. And, as you're putting work in and all these coaches that are doing it all over the country, I think it's something that we can all look to. You got to find a spot that you love and that you're willing to put your heart and soul into.
What's the one thing you took from him to your coaching today? That you took that one thing that, and I know there's a lot of things, but what's the one or two main things you took from playing with him and knowing him that you've applied to your coaching?
I've said this before. I think that one of the beauties of Coach Candrea is he did not expect us to be cookie cutter. He let us be our version of ourselves. He tried to make us the best version of ourselves, but he didn't try to change us. He recruited us for a reason because he thought we were talented or we were good at something, and he tried to enhance us, but he didn't try to change us. So he did a really good job of just building confidence in us and then letting us go play. And so I try to do that with my team, make them the best version of themselves, pound them with confidence, and then on the game day, let them play.
And you're definitely been doing that. You mentioned the Mountain West. A couple things. Obviously, the Mountain West, San Diego State's playing very well right now for the league as well. You're playing very well. A lot of new faces in the league. Boise State's playing well with their new head coach, Justin Schultz. What's your thoughts on the Mountain West this year? You've mentioned, obviously, getting ready for the league. What do you expect from the league this year? You're back to a 3-game schedule after last year's kind of wild season. But your thoughts on the Mountain West? A lot of new faces in the league, not changes, but it's still going to be very competitive and intense.
Yeah, the upper 2/3 of the conference they're all playing really well, which is what we need. Making sure we win the games that we're supposed to. So I've been really impressed and excited about that. I think that with San Diego State, Maggie Balance, she's going to be, the catalyst of that program. If she's pitching well, they're going to do well. So we're preparing to play our game and really focus on what we need to do and, attack each team as we see fit. We've been able to play against some of these teams and have had success. So, just making sure we play our game and stay focused on ourselves. I'm happy, we want the teams in our conference to go be successful in the preseason. So, when, we even have a group text when somebody gets a big win against an opponent, we're congratulating each other. So at this point, we're really being supportive of each other to go off and get those big wins because we need them as a group. And then once we get into that Mountain West, that's when we really kind of go toe to toe. So, I'm excited and I'm happy with what I'm seeing, even New Mexico this year really stepping up and getting their wins and getting their program where it needs to be. That helps the entire conference. So, I like what I'm seeing. I think that the coaches are doing a good job with scheduling the way that we need to start getting more than one team in. And, we're doing our part on our end to help the conference as well. So, I like what I'm seeing from everybody. And then when it's time to get across the lines, I'm confident that if we play our game, we'll put ourselves in a good situation.
You played in the Pac-12 for a long time there. They just announced recently they're going to have a conference tournament starting next year. What was your reaction to that? And is that something that's been brought up around the Mountain West as possibly broaching that topic as maybe having a conference tournament?
We've been on that topic for quite some time, and I'm looking forward to having an answer on that here pretty soon. I think that the West Coast is kind of dealing with a situation where the East Coast is doing a much better job of being on TV way more often. And so they're getting themselves in front of the selection committee, and those people are being able to see them play, especially the mid-major teams, right? The mid-major teams on the other side, on the other coast, are doing a better job getting in front of the selection committee and seeing them, getting to see their teams on a regular basis. When you see teams, it keeps them on your mind when you get into that situation where you're making the last cuts of the 4 in and 4 out. The people that you've seen on TV, that stuff matters. So, I think that the Pac-12 is, they're trying to, right before that selection committee, they want to be on TV. They want to be in front of this committee. They want them to be able to see the talent that they have. And I hope the Mountain West follows suit. We need to get ourselves in front of these committees. Our league is strong. We have good teams. We compete at a high level, but it has to be seen, right? The scoreboard doesn't always show exactly what it looks like. I think a lot of people last year, they slept on Fresno State. Fresno State had a great pitcher, right? But you didn't see her on a regular basis. So people didn't talk about her, but everybody in the Mountain West knew about her. So then you go back, UNLV beat that pitcher 2 out of 3 times. So, if people would have seen that, maybe the conversation would have been different, but they're not seeing it. They're just looking at scores. And then, so maybe, at the end of the year, Mountain West tournament, UNLV beats that pitcher, the conversation can be different. So I hope the Mountain West follows suit. I'm glad the Pac-12 is kind of, taking the stance and getting themselves out there. And, if this is what we need to do to get more teams in the postseason, I hope that's what we do.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I think you make a great point because let's be real. A lot of casual fans start peaking around conference tournament week. So, that's when they're catching up. And the thing that struck me was, and Coach Candrea brought it up and others have brought it up, like last year, for example, Arizona's playing UCLA, the great rivalry in softball. And yet it was kind of like, it's on ESPNU and, because of all the conference tournaments that's going on. And, obviously we're in March Madness, and basketball is no different than that. So I think you're right. I think it would benefit the sport from an exposure standpoint because television likes conference tournaments. That's no secret. We see that all over the sports there. And I think it would help your league because you have a lot of talented players in your league, like you talked about, that maybe don't get a chance to see you on a consistent basis. So hopefully I think it would be a good move for the league. And it helps get, an opportunity if you're the second place or third place team in the league to maybe get some extra wins and help your resume competition. How would you format it? Sounds like you're pro for it. How would you want it to do it? Would you do it on site? How many teams would you have it? Single elimination? How would you do it?
I mean, we've had many conversations. I'm not for all the teams going. I would say probably top 6. I prefer double, but I know people are really worried about their arms and heading into the postseason and things like that. But I would like to see the upper half of the conference get into it and kind of battle it out. And, the previous year's conference champion to host. I think that there needs to be requirements to host, and hopefully having those requirements will really make the universities or the schools that can't meet those requirements to start stepping up their game and providing a proper atmosphere for their programs to have so that they can host it. So, right now we have a couple of schools that can host and a couple schools that can't. But I think that setting that standard is going to help all of us elevate what we have to offer our student athletes, right? It's all about student athlete experience. That's conference tournament is great for student athlete experience, getting that moment, getting to play for some sort of championship, even for those that don't get to go on to the NCAA. I'm seeing all these conference championships rings and they're getting bigger and bigger. They're bigger than my national championship rings. So, I'm all for it. Let's get it done.
The rings. Oh man, that's pretty good on that. By the way, you all do a great job streaming your games on the YouTube. I have watched your teams often. You got a great play-by-play guy and why we've had on the show as well. So you guys do a great job too of trying to get the word out, try to get the games on, and that's going to be a big this weekend in particular, especially when you got a team like Washington and Houston coming in. And that's something I think other teams in the league could take a page from as well, is, get your own broadcast as well out there.
Yeah, and I think that we're slowly but surely at UNLV taking those steps, right? So we have the one camera for our preseason, and then this year, all of our Mountain West games at home will be a 3-camera system, with an announcer and, the full production, which is the first year we've been able to do all of our home games. So, that's been really great. I think that the NCAA kind of experimenting with the video review and kind of putting that on the plate, I think that that's going to help all of the schools kind of get those cameras in place, because that's going to be huge for people. You don't want to be going into postseason not knowing how to use video review, and being uncomfortable with it, with other schools that are going to be able to do it all the time, right? So being able to kind of get that, and the NCAA setting that standard will help other teams and other programs start implementing those things. So I think we're going to see more and more video, and I'm excited for it.
It's a great point, because instant replays coming into softball right now, it's kind of optional depending on the conference and the facilities and all that. Where do the Mountain West stand in all that? Will you have replay for conference games either this year or down the road?
It's a great question. I think that we're still kind of figuring all of that out. I'm making a big push for it at UNLV. I don't know if we'll be able to get it done this year, but we're working on it. I think that if we get it done at all, it will just be for conference. But I think it's a huge piece, right? It's a piece of the game that's going to become more and more important. I mean, I'm watching games on ESPN in Florida, and they're just out safe calls that are completely wrong, that are black and white on the video. And I guess they weren't using it in those tournaments, but I mean, they're game changers, right?
Yep.
So, being able to know the time and place of when to use it and be confident about it, those things are going to come into play once you get into postseason. And it's going to matter if you know how to do it and be confident in making those decisions. So I think that, we don't want to continue to stretch the difference between the Power Five and everybody else. So I'm hoping that this is going to help with other schools getting more cameras so that we can still stay competitive and not continue to widen the divide.
I'm glad you brought up the Florida deal. I called that game, and yes, there was no replay used.
I didn't say Florida. I just saw the games in Florida, but y'all know what I was talking about.
I called those games. I know you're talking about. Trust me, I got many messages about it. But you bring up a great point, because, for example, like the American Conference doesn't have replay this year for softball. They're hoping for next year, because there's some facilities that can't do it and all that. But meanwhile, baseball has it, so there creates a little awkwardness from that standpoint. But I think it feels like, in talking to a lot of people, the goal is for pretty much almost everybody to have it by 2023, because once you get to the NCAA tournament, you're going to have it. So you don't want to be that team that doesn't use replay all year, and then all of a sudden it's like, wait, we got to use how do we use replay? So I think some practice will having it during the season will get you used to it by the time you get to postseason.
Exactly. That's how I feel, and that's how I've stated it to UNLV, and why it's so important that we have it, so that we can be prepared and make sure that we know how to use it before we get ourselves into those situations where it's important.
All right, you let me know who I need to talk to you, and I'll try to help and make it happen for you there.
Will you also write the check?
That could be a little trickier. I may not work on that one. I don't know if I have the budget for that yet. One other rule they got changed: the out of the box rule got tweaked. It used to be if you were out of the box, it was an automatic out. Now it's a strike, or the team can take the result of the play. Did you like that tweak?
I do like it. I think that the umpires need to continue to be confident in calling it. I think that the rule made it so it's not as big of a punishment. And so hopefully that makes the umpires confident in calling it when it's happening. We had one this weekend where she stepped out of the box, hit a ball, got a single, but it was the third pitch. So, we were able to take the strikeout. So, I mean, I like it. I think that, the more we've done where we're take the massive penalties away, even like with the stolen base, same thing that they kind of did previously. It's very similar to that. I do leaving early. I meant I like it. I like what we've done there. And I haven't seen it very often, though, only a couple times.
Yeah, they're leaving early. I've seen that being enforced more early on this season too. I've noticed that across the board on that deal. So there's some tweaks continue to happen. Last question. Obviously, you get ready to host this tournament, and before you know it, Mountain West. What are going to be some of the keys for your team to accomplish your eternal goals?
Yeah, I think our pitching staff being consistent is going to be huge. I think that's for everybody, but really for our team, just having consistent outings from our pitching staff is going to be really big. And offensively, if we just got to continue to have good at bats from all of our players. Like you said, from top to bottom this year, we have very uh, you know powerful hitters, and so we just need them to continue to have good at bats and not press too much. There's going to be games where not everyone's hitting, and it can be somebody different on any given day. So just everybody not pressing and sticking with the game plan is going to be big for us. And defensively, we've always been a very, very strong program. And this year we've kind of slipped up early on in the preseason. So just making sure that we clean that up and play the game, our defensive game that we've always been good at, making sure we just kind of get that going again. I think that we'll be fine. We're a competitive team. We never quit. They're always fighting to the last pitch, which I think is huge. And then lastly, like I said, that team chemistry and that bond and really sticking together, because we already know there's going to be points at this season where, our backs are going to be against the wall, or we're going to be facing adversity, or we're going to be slumping, or things won't be going our way. And being able to stick together and still finding joy in what we're doing is going to be huge for this team.
Could this potentially be the best offense you've had there since you've arrived there? I mean, it's early, I know, but could this potentially be the best offense when it's if it fulfills its potential?
Yeah, when we're on all cylinders, I think top to bottom, this is the best offense that we've ever had. We've always been pretty powerful at the top. And then, at the bottom, it was every once in a while. We were trying to get back to the top this year from top to bottom. I think that, we have the potential to do damage.
Well, we're looking forward to seeing your team, obviously, this weekend, big tournament. For more information, check out UNLVrebels.com. Go out there. Vegas is nice. It's a nice place to watch softball. There's a lot of
Yeah.
things to do. I've heard there's good things to do over there. But hey, good luck this weekend. Good luck the rest of the season. It's always great to talk to you and have you on the show. You know that, and appreciate you always taking the time from the busy schedule. We'll follow you, and we'll hopefully talk to you down the road here.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Go Rebels.